What the dog doing?
Hi guys, happy Sunday. Sorry if you hear some growling and a lot going on. The puppies are fighting, Remy is hiding. But anyway, so we went to Petco and we went to Petco and we got a couple of things. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, so our first thing is these unscented dog wipes because they roam around and they go to the bathroom on the floor and they like to step in it. So we have to literally use wipes all the time on their feet and obviously on their very important areas so that way they don't spread it amongst the apartment. The next thing that we have is for our dear boy Remy. And we have this cute little shirt that says, "Here comes the sun." And I think this is so cute. This is a size small. And yeah, it's so cute. I keep seeing this all the time, every time we go to Petco. And I've been wanting to get this for him for a long time. But yeah, we're trying to spoil him a little bit because he definitely has been experiencing some jealousy amongst us and territorial when it comes to things. There'll be several times where he'll like kind of like move them, like kind of like bump them a little bit so that way he can get to me and wants to be petted. So yeah, this is his little treat. And yeah, so we also got these two little bowls because now they're graduating into, you know, the little mush stuff. So we're gonna basically spend this week feeding them with a little bit of mush plus the like the formula. So we do the formula how we normally do, and then we just introduce them to the like mush canned food that the Humane Society has given us. So we got two bowls for them. They're small enough bowls to where they can be able to, you know, reach and get it, but it's not it's small enough where they'll be able to do that and still have some room to eat it, but it's not big enough to the point where they will literally fall in or something like that. And then our last two things that we got these little, well, these are like the Pride Month lamb chops, but these are like the little lamb chops. They really like Remy's lamb chop, but we're trying to differentiate the two so that they know that these are theirs, and the one that we usually have that they're playing with is his. But yeah, there's Remy in the background with his little shirt on.
Yeah, cutie.
Wow. But yeah, that's all for our basically that whole haul thing. My brain is obviously scattered because I've been going on lack of sleep. We also stopped to get Starbucks just solely for me because I am extremely sleep deprived. But yeah, so I think my parents and my sister should be coming here with lunch, so there'll be some content on that. But for the majority of the day, this is my first day off of the week, so I'm trying to obviously take care of things to the best of my abilities. Also, unfortunately, our black puppy, the one that her hind legs and her tail is pretty messed up from her mother, she unfortunately now has to wear her comb full time for the rest of her stay because she has been really festering with it real bad. We would give her time where she would wear it and other times where she wouldn't, but yeah, it's just not possible now, unfortunately, to allow it to heal. I think now it's in the healing process where it's itchy and it's really bothering her. So she's like trying to nip at it and her teeth are coming in, so we don't want her to do any further damage to things that are already trying to heal itself up. But yeah, that's my little spiel for that. So let's get going with the rest of our day.
She's a much cleaner eater than the other one.
I'm convincing Pat to shave his head.
No, I'm not shaving.
You gonna live your entire life just with one haircut? Either it's the same haircut that like every man has a haircut of, or are you gonna get like an actual, like, you know,
A buzz cut?
yeah, it's just like every guy, you get the standard 2 haircuts. Either your hair is long and you do nothing with it, or you do like the same little like side part thing with it buzzed on the side.
Long hair with the buzz on the side. I was like, this is sick. It's pretty.
That with my bare hands because I wasn't paying attention. Here's our final product. Hi everyone, happy Monday. So I do have work from noon to 9, but I just kind of wanted to give you guys like a early week debrief of like where I'm at in my headspace. We are now putting them on slurry, as you guys saw in the yesterday, all the content from yesterday. I basically am now taking them from 90 milliliters of milk to and a half of tablespoon of the canned food to 75 milliliters of milk, and then a whole tablespoon of canned food, because we want them to start to wean off of the milk and more on actual mushy food. And eventually, as you know, they get returned to the Humane Society and they start digesting it very well, then they'll start eating like, you know, like kibble and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of like the whole point of why we're fostering them, is to wean them off and transition them into being able to eat semi-solids, and also introduce a little bit of water here and there, because they got to start doing that. But yeah, so far, so good. We had some restless nights every night, not gonna lie. But it's okay. It's all in the process. It's better than how it used to be. We are now separating their feeding time by 5 hours now. We first started with every 3 hours when we first got them, to now 5 hours. And usually they knock out longer. So that's really good. Because that means that they're full and stuff like that when they, you know, take a little siesta. But yeah, I think just in general, there is some hard moments. I'm more hard on myself and I'm more frustrated with myself than them, because they're puppies, they're babies, they don't know anything. But I just always find myself like really hard on myself as to why I can't get them to stop whining, why I can't get them to stop doing certain things, why can't I get them to chill out, you know, at certain points of the day, especially when I'm working and things can get a little chaotic, especially since now they're fully roaming around the apartment now completely. But it's just all a process. This is my first time fostering. I've never had 3 dogs at once. I've never had 2 puppies at once before. There's always just been 1 puppy, 1 dog my entire life that I've taken care of. So it's definitely an adjustment, but obviously, you know, with it only being 2.5 weeks with us having them, it's all a learning curve for us. And it's such a short-term situation, but we're trying to make sure that they have a good quality of life at their beginning. And so far, I feel like we've done okay. Obviously, we're not going to replace their mother. That's where most of the crying is, because they're separated from their mother. But they do like Pat and I. They follow us around and they like Remy and they always want to see what Remy's up to. Remy still likes to hide because he's a very anxious being. After a while, he's like, okay, I'm gonna go and hide now, or he'll jump on the couch for his own like little safe haven. But yeah, I'm gonna see how this is gonna work in terms of like feeding them while I'm working, because, you know, fixing the bottle and making them drink, it was so much faster, especially when Yang, our girl dog, this finally started latching on to the nipple. But now with all the components involved of the measuring and adding the stuff and mixing the stuff together, is going to be a lot more, especially since now that it's on the ground, that they have access to it. So the other one will be eating separately, and the other one will be like trying to like basically steal the other one's food. And I'm like, you guys have to separate. So I have to figure it out. I have to figure out a method to make it easier so that way everybody gets fed the right amount and no one is attacking each other to eat, because there's more to go around. So I'm thinking about maybe trying, for my first trial, is to actually feed them at once with 2 different bowls, because we did buy 2 bowls from Petco yesterday. So I might try to feed them all at once and see how that works, and make sure that they, you know, I make sure that they focus on their individual bowl that I give them. And if that doesn't work, then I'll just have to feed them in the next feeding, feed them one by one and put the other one in either the playpen or leave them outside, vice versa. I don't know yet, but I'll let you guys know. I probably won't film it just because I'll just be in my element and I'm just gonna be stressed. So it's not even that deep, but I'll just try my best to get it to where it's easier for everybody. But yes, that's kind of it for everything. Yeah, I now I know, and this is not an equivalent, but now I know what it feels like for mothers with like newborns and toddlers, where whenever they are asleep, they finally get to, you know, take a shower, put their clothes on, put makeup on, because that's the only time that I'm able to do the things that I need to do in terms of getting up in the morning. And this is how I felt when we first adopted Remy, because he was very clingy. He would always get into things. So I always had to make sure that when he was asleep, I would be able to like get everything that I needed to do done. So yeah, shout out to all the moms. Shout out to all the dog moms with more than one dog. Love y'all. Hi everyone, happy Thursday. So today is my day off. This is my second day off and last day off of the week. But luckily I've been able to spend this time relaxing, as well as focusing on my time on the individual puppies and dogs in general. But yeah, we've got the TV going in the background as visual distraction for them. Most of them are asleep in their own little separate areas. One is asleep underneath the couch, the other one is asleep underneath the table, and another one is asleep over here in the bed, which is Remy. But yes, so I'm finally getting to do a short book review on Passion Project by London Sperry. This is a book that I was supposed to review almost like 3 vlogs ago, and I just completely forgot about it because everything was kind of hectic, of trying to like reorganize and gain control of like my life in terms of like trying to do things that I have like set back. And so I ended up finishing this book, I think about like 2 weeks ago. Which is usually I'm able to knock out a book all in 1 week. But of course, because of the puppies, because of other things personal of me just trying to get things done with work and stuff like that, I obviously hadn't had time. But I finally finished it. So of course, like every book review, I'm going to give a short synopsis of it. And then I'm going to tell you guys how I felt overall about the book. And then obviously rate the book 1 to 5 stars. So without further ado, let's get into it. So Passion Project by London Sperry, from as far as I know, this is her debut book. It's her debut novel. And this is how I found out. It was through Reddit, because I always, like, when it's separate books outside of the book club that I tend to, you know, read solo on my own, I tend to still want that kind of community, like, talk about a book. And so obviously I always go on Reddit just solely just for like book review stuff. And then obviously like when I watch other like stuff like TV and movies and stuff like that, I also like to go on Reddit and Letterboxd and stuff like that. But Reddit is usually my main thing to kind of just see what everybody's like situation is about it outside of like TikTok and stuff. So this is London Sperry's first novel from what I've gathered. And honestly, this is like one of the best novels that I've read, like romantic novels, like romantic drama novels that I've read in a long time. I definitely would say that this book is so well rounded on how it talks about grief, but still adding some comedy, with still adding some romantic part. It's like a perfect blend. It doesn't feel like we're trying to force all of them to fit, but it also doesn't feel like it gives each part of the story room to be able to kind of like get everything out of the story, like all the elements, without feeling like one is dominating the other, or that it's all just trying to be condensed to move through the story without like, it's not congestive when it comes to all of like the genres and topics that they talk about in the book. And she talks about in the book, which is, oh, it's so good. So for those who do not know about Passion Project, it's basically about a girl in her 20s, Bennett Taylor, who she basically moves out of her hometown and her home state and moves to New York City. So she leaves her family, her parents behind, and of course her friends that she's known her entire life. She does room with one friend in New York that she's known in high school. But yeah, that's kind of like the only connection that she has with like her hometown and that kind of familiarity that she's used to when moving to the Big Apple, the big city. But we don't really get out of like the first like couple of chapters. It's not until like the middle of the book that we really kind of understand why she left, why she's in New York in the first place, and why she's so distant. We find out that Bennett is very much of an introvert, very much of a shut-in. And it's not that she wants to, it's almost like she's punishing herself from keeping herself away from her friend who's her roommate, from other people and exploring new things. And she really kind of like is almost punishing herself through isolating herself. And we don't really get to know why until later. Again, this is kind of like a spoiler later on as I kind of give a synopsis of how I felt about the book. So if you guys don't want to hear about the spoilers, I would like try to go through to the actual like rating of how I felt about the book later. But there is a spoilers ahead. But then she meets Henry. And Henry is this guy that she meets on a blind date. And she is basically, at first, she didn't want to go through it. And she's talking about her boyfriend. And at first, it seems like, oh, maybe they had broken up. Turns out that her boyfriend actually passed away in a bad accident. And come to find out, spoiler, that her boyfriend got in a bad car accident because of a dispute and some hard times that they had relationship wise, and she blames herself for his death. And it's like a whole thing of basically Henry teaching her to let go of things and to get away from that guilt that she's been shaming herself for, and trying to help her figure out what to do next for her life. She dropped out of college. She is doing very sparse jobs here and there. I think she works as a waitress for companies that do conventions, and she does ticket sales at some point for conventions and big dinner hall situations and charity events and that type of thing. So she's a waitress there. She does ticketing at a convention center, and so she's kind of just at a place that's stagnant in her life. And Henry is kind of that guy that is very outspoken. He always is the guy that comes up and talks to somebody, and he'll act like he's known that person his entire life. And that's how I feel personally, because my dad does that a lot. Like, he's definitely a guy that literally, he'll just find this random person, or this random person will gravitate towards him, and they'll talk in the grocery store like they've been friends for over 30 years. Like, he's one of those types of guys. And we come to find out that the reason why he does that is from his own source of trauma and insecurities and things. I think he does talk about how his dad has Alzheimer's, I believe. And as a child, before his dad was diagnosed, he was just a very shy kid. He was very to himself, and his dad wanted him to obviously go out there and, you know, learn about new people and meet new people and not be afraid to do so. So his dad would have him go out, and while they're out, he would, as a kid, go up and ask people about themselves and talk about them. So that's how that habit kind of adapted and kind of followed along into his adulthood. And now that his dad has Alzheimer's and he can't remember a lot of things, he is basically using that as a way to kind of keep his dad's memory alive. So he can always, for him himself, so he can remember everything that his dad taught him, but also to remember things because he knows that his dad can't, which that was a very like gut-wrenching part for me. Because as you guys know, I also did read the new Abby Jimenez, Say You'll Remember Me, that also touched on dealing with having a parent with Alzheimer's. And that was very hard of a read for me as well. Not because I have anybody personally in my life that has Alzheimer's, but just having friends that's had to deal with, you know, grandparents and uncles and aunts that have Alzheimer's, and, you know, knowing how that was for them, and as well as just like seeing how in general that's affected a lot of people, not only for the person who has it, but also to everyone around them. It's almost like you're watching this person slowly like lose themselves, and it's very hard. So I always thought that this was a good topic to talk on, because again, while it still talks about both of their griefs and how they handle it differently, they're able kind of to lean on each other and work on it. And together they help kind of heal, you know, the situations in terms of Bennett with her family and talking to her parents again, because she was always worried about making them worry. So she normally didn't reach out, but it made her reach out and try to rekindle that relationship. Helped her rekindle her relationship with her roommate / high school best friend, helped her also reignite her relationship with her boyfriend, her deceased boyfriend's sister, who they had a falling out talk before she moved to New York, and she was able to reach out to her and have the strength to be able to do that. And then for Henry, he was able to kind of like talk to his mother, because his mother was the main caretaker of his father since he got diagnosed, and being able to do that and not having the fear of being able to actually, you know, talk about what's happening with his dad, and being able to reach out with his dad and try to, you know, he can't get the same relationship with his dad like he used to, which is no fault to anyone. Unfortunately, that's just what comes with the disorder. But yeah, he can't get the relationship that he once had because of the circumstances. But he's able to, you know, bring that back in what that looks like for him, and still trying to keep a relationship with his father, because that's still his dad, whether he has Alzheimer's or not. And eventually they do end up getting together, and it's very slow. And I did enjoy how London Sperry kind of made it gradual, because a lot of the times, especially for Bennett, she felt a lot of guilt because she felt like she was leaving her deceased boyfriend behind, and being able for them both to give each other space to be safe, to establish that kind of relationship where it can grow into something romantic. And I thought that was very helpful. But in general, I give this book a 5 out of 5. And I never give books 5 out of 5 for the most part. Especially when it comes to like romantic comedies or just romantic dramas or dramedies, those type of things. It's very hard for me to give like 5 out of 5s like I used to when I was like really into reading when I was younger. And I think a large amount of that is because like some books, when it comes to like the romantic genre, whether it's just a romantic comedy, whether there's some drama in it, whatever, what have you, I feel like after a while, a lot of things become repetitive. But I do love that there's a lot of new authors within the past couple of years, since the pandemic, that has kind of like risen, and they've been able to kind of retell the genre in a way that is relatable, and that it isn't just like a straightforward, just cheesy love story throughout, which is still good. I still enjoy those types of books, but it gives so much nuance, and it feels like you know the characters. Like it feels like you can identify, even if you're not dealing with exactly what the characters are dealing with in the story, you can still identify about a time that you felt a certain way, or a time in your childhood that you felt that way, and how those kinds of things, you could see similar patterns in that main character as you would in your own life, or you've known people who've had to go through things like that, or know, like it's very, very relatable. And that's what I loved this so much about this book. But anyway, that was kind of like a short but long synopsis about the book that I read. I do have a couple of books in mind that I'm gonna read next. I'm not quite sure when I will probably read. I think I will probably read On Our Way to Arizona, because if you guys did not know, from August 7th through the 10th, Pat, Bree, and I are all going to Glendale, Arizona to see Chris Stapleton. So it's kind of like one day on the 8th is Chris Stapleton and getting like country concert ready. And then the other couple of days, like 7th, 9th, and the 10th, obviously the 10th we're leaving, but the majority of it is us like going and enjoying it, and kind of like also enjoying our old stomping grounds, because I lived in Arizona. I lived in Phoenix for about a good like 3 years. So for my whole middle school career, if you could call it a career, middle school, but for my whole 3 years of middle school, I lived in Arizona. So it's kind of fun to go back. It's still hot, but it is not as bad as it would have been, because we are heading into August. But I will probably read then. But I have so many books in my wish list right now. I honestly don't know what book I'm gonna read, but I guess we will find out. So other than that, I will see you guys later. Bye.
What the dog doing?